Did you know that not all of your outdoor extension cords are made the same? It's important that you factor in 3 critical things before you make your purchase. The first point to consider is current capacity. Current capacity is directly related to the gauge of the wire that's in your extension cord. Typically in your stores, you'll see 12 gauge, 14 gauge, and 16 gauge. And on your package, it might say gauge. It might also say AWG, which means American Wire Gauge. So as an example, a 12 gauge cord can handle more current capacity than a 14 or a 16 gauge cord. And if you hold the 14 gauge wire next to the 12 gauge wire, you can see that there is a difference in thickness without even cutting the cord open. And the key here is really safety. You want to make sure that your cord can handle the current that your tools or whatever you're running require. To understand what your tool requirements are, you have to check the manufacturer's specifications because this can vary tool by tool and manufacturer by manufacturer. Sometimes you'll run into table saws, miter saws, high capacity circular saws, and other tools that require 15 amps. So you need to make sure that the cable that you're purchasing is rated for those 15 amps. This brings up consideration point number 2, which is the length of your cord. The longer your cord, the more resistance there is within it. So if you need 15 amps to run a specific tool, you can get away with that with a 25-foot 14 gauge extension cord. But you'll notice that if you purchase the 100-foot 14 gauge extension cord, it can only handle for this one 13 amps. Now you'll notice that the shorter 12 gauge cords are also rated for 15 amps. But the big difference here is if I need to go to 100 feet, that 12 gauge extension cord is going to give me the 15 amps that I need. And if you go to a 16 gauge cord at 100 feet, you're only looking at a 10 amp rating. So you can see how it's important to make the proper selection so that you're not overloading your cord. If you're pushing too much current through your cord at these longer lengths, you run the risk of the cord breaking down and potential fire in extreme situations. And that brings us to our third factor, which is cost. The lower the gauge and the longer the length, the higher the cost. So you want to make sure that you're picking the extension cord for your specific application. If you only need to run your cord 20 feet away from your power supply, don't go with a longer 100-foot cord. Get yourself a 14 gauge cord that is rated for 15 amps at 25 feet. Alternatively, if you do need 15 amps at 100 feet, you're going to have to spend a little bit more and get that 12 gauge cord. By prioritizing safety and performance, you can really make sure that you're selecting the cord that's right for you without breaking your budget. And hey, while you're here, check out one of these 2 videos. And until the next time, keep doing it yourself.